This episode is brought to you by Iams Pet Food. When you choose Iams dry dog or cat food, you can see a difference in your pet with your own eyes. Healthy energy in 5 days, healthy digestion in 10 days, and healthy skin and coat in just 25 days. Satisfaction for you and them. Guaranteed or your money back. Feed Iams dry dog or cat food and see a visible difference. Visit iams.com/difference to learn more.
Now, 2 pigeons bemoaning the fact you can stream DirecTV satellite-free.
These humans can stream all the top-rated national news channels on DirecTV, and now with no satellite dish.
This just in. Weather, sports, election coverage. DirecTV has it all, but something is missing. The satellite dish.
What are you doing?
I'm reporting the news. Back to you, Bob.
Here's some news. You're a buffoon.
Stream the top-rated national news channels. No satellite dish. Visit DirecTV.com. Internet required. Top-rated news based on 2023 Nielsen ratings.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
It's June 1997. A packed crowd of over 14,000 fills an arena in Inglewood, California, here to witness the first game of a brand new league, the WNBA. The home team, the Los Angeles Sparks, is going head-to-head with the New York Liberty. There's already a lot of buzz around this new league, which features several stars from last year's gold medal-winning Team USA. And 2 of those players, Lisa Leslie and Rebecca Lobo, are here today, and their Olympic win is still fresh on everyone's minds. In front of a full arena and a television audience of more than 5 million people, the first WNBA game begins with the Sparks winning the tip-off. LA's Penny Toller scores the first basket in the league's history, and the New York Liberty go on to win the very first WNBA game.
The New York Liberty over the LA Sparks in the first game for the Women's NBA. The final 67-57.
Now, with millions of people watching history in the making, this game is an incredible beginning for this new league and an absolutely groundbreaking step forward for women's sports overall. Now, the WNBA isn't the first women's pro basketball league, but it is the first one to garner this much interest and to receive the full backing of the NBA. But despite a strong start, the WNBA is a new league in a landscape where men's sports already dominate. As we will soon see, the league will face some challenges ahead, like declining viewership and tight finances. These are the same critical issues that have driven so many other budding sports leagues into the ground, men's and women's. But there's also, sexism. A lot of people want to tell you that nobody watches women's sports, and that underlies many bad decisions by the people in charge. So, how has the WNBA lasted longer than any other women's pro basketball league in America? Exactly what does it take to grow and sustain a new league, especially when some people automatically question the validity of women's sports? And what can we learn from the past about this current moment in WNBA history, marked by unprecedented growth, interest, and importantly, investment? Hi, everyone. It's Kavitha Davidson, and welcome to another episode of Sportly, our weekly podcast that dives into sports history and highlights iconic events, remarkable athletes, and impactful moments both on and off the field, or rather, in this case, the court. Today's episode is all about the WNBA. The W has seen an unprecedented amount of growth these past few years. TV viewership has just ballooned. This past year alone, games averaged more than 1 million viewers on ESPN platforms and CBS Sports. Social media has been flooded with clips of star players and game highlights, not to mention iconic mascots. Shout out to Ellie. This past season's tip-off week was the most watched in WNBA history. And at the end of the season, 2.15 million people tuned in to the decisive Game 5 of the finals between the Minnesota Lynx and the New York Liberty, making it the most watched finals game in 25 years.
Collier gets free.
Two outstanding bounce pass outcomes because this has been so frenzied.
In astounding numbers, more people are tuning in and getting excited about the games, a huge step forward for a league that has often been criticized for its supposed lack of interest and profit potential. And even people who weren't into basketball before are becoming new fans. I can tell you personally, I've been to several Liberty games this season and met plenty of people who didn't previously care about basketball, men's or women's. And the influence of the athletes themselves is extending far beyond the realm of sports, into TV, film, and fashion. There's been quite a bit of controversy writing the tales of this most recent growth, especially regarding one player in particular, Caitlin Clark, the rookie for the Indiana Fever, who's been in the spotlight since her college days at Iowa.
Clark in transition. Yes!
She's Diana Taurasi. She's Steph Curry. She's insert great shooter.
A lot of the new fans credit the WNBA's recent growth to Clark herself, going so far as to call the league's boost in popularity the Caitlin Clark effect. Now listen, Clark is undeniably a generational talent. She just won Rookie of the Year and deserved it, and she's absolutely attracted numerous new fans to the W. But many have noted that Clark's race and Midwest background have also played a role in her level of visibility. This is a league with predominantly Black athletes and a large minority fan base, many of whom have called out what they believe is disproportionate coverage of Clark. So frankly, we didn't want to contribute to that conversation. There's a lot of it going on. And especially since the WNBA finals just ended without Clark or the Fever on the floor. Last weekend, my New York Liberty won their first championship in team history with a record number of fans watching.
In the making, the New York Liberty are WNBA champions!
So instead, we want to focus on a different question. How has the league gotten to where it is today? And how does this surge signal what's to come?
This episode is brought to you by Rakuten. If you're shopping while working, eating, or even listening to this podcast, then you know and love the thrill of the hunt. But are you getting the thrill of the best deals? Rakuten shoppers do. They get the brands they love with the most savings and cash back. And you can get it too. Start getting cash back at your favorite stores like Samsung, Expedia, and Sephora. And even stack sales on top of cash back. It's easy to use, and you get your cash back through PayPal or check. The idea is simple. Stores pay Rakuten for sending them shoppers. And Rakuten shares the money with you as cash back. Download the free Rakuten app and never miss a deal. Or go to Rakuten.com to start getting the most bang for your buck. That's Rakuten.
Hey, it's Austin James. If you're like me, trying to live your best life while living with diabetes, you can relate to worrying if you're doing a good job managing your diabetes. I use the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor to get real-time glucose readings and see the impact of every meal and activity to make better decisions. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor can help me live life with diabetes on my own terms, and it gives me more time for the things I love, like being a dad and a musician. Now this is progress. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
In order to fully appreciate WNBA history, we've got to rewind a bit. See, women have been playing basketball since 1892, the year after the sport was created. However, these early games were limited to intramural and college games, and women in America didn't go pro until the 70s. Early pro leagues, like the Women's Professional Basketball League of 1978, didn't really last long, and they folded within a few years of their founding. Most often, this was due to financial issues and poor management. The WBL was losing so much money that it couldn't afford to pay its athletes. And a group of players from one team even staged a walkout before a game in protest of their unpaid wages. But in 1996, the world of women's pro ball changes for the better, thanks to two key factors: excitement around the Olympics and support by the NBA.
I have a dream of becoming an Olympian.
Don't let guys tell you what you can't do. Girls can be strong.
Boys and girls look up to you. That is probably one of the best feelings that I've ever had.
In the years to come, more women will be able to dunk.
We have some warriors on our team.
Until we win the gold medal, my job won't be finished.
The USA Basketball Women's National Team, coming this summer.
First, the Olympics. Women have been playing Olympic basketball since 1976, and 1996 is really a landmark year. After the Team USA women took bronze at the 92 Olympics and at the 94 World Championships, the U.S. Olympic Committee revamped the women's basketball team, determined to win gold in 96. This led to an intensive year-long training schedule against elite international competition, with 52 games played across the globe, including stops in Russia, China, and Australia. Now, around this time, NBA Commissioner David Stern and basketball executive Val Ackerman are looking to pull the trigger on a plan that they've had in place for a women's professional league for quite some time. And what better timing than with the Olympics-bound stars fresh on everyone's minds? So, the NBA creates a new women's league. In April of 96, a couple of months before the Olympics, the NBA Board of Governors approves the concept and announces its new slogan, "We got next." Now, that's a phrase you'll often hear at pickup games when you need to claim your right to play next on the court. This slogan premieres with an iconic ad that shows three women strutting down a hallway, donned in these badass leather jackets, and each with duffel bags personalized with their last names that would come to be iconic: Leslie, Swoops, and Logo.
We got next.
Lisa is the center of U.S. women's basketball team. Cheryl's a forward.
These are the women who, thanks to their prolific college careers and that Olympic travel schedule, have already become stars to the public. They're the first few to sign on to the new league. And it's this iconic ad that formally stakes the women's territory in pro ball as the Women's National Basketball Association, the WNBA. Only a few months after this announcement, these three women would go on to play in the highly anticipated 1996 Olympics and win the gold medal, which heightens their visibility once again. In the months that follow, the WNBA starts to form teams and draft players, pulling the best athletes from Olympic ball and the NCAA with an eye toward launching the following year. But around this same time, there's another competitor in the pro women's world, the American Basketball League, which holds its inaugural season in '96.
And we are most definitely not waiting for anyone to let us play. We're not waiting for anything except the ball.
The ABL also features Olympic athletes and college players. But what largely makes the W different is its association with the NBA, which gives them an upper hand in financing, marketing, and fan base. The NBA as a league owns all of the new women's franchises, but the connection between the leagues goes even further than just ownership. You see, the first 8 WNBA teams each share a city with a fellow NBA team. The women's Los Angeles Sparks are sister to the men's LA Lakers. The women's Utah Stars share Salt Lake City with the men's Utah Jazz. The women's team names are often related to their NBA counterparts, like the Houston Comets and the Houston Rockets. So, from a marketing and growth standpoint, it's not a bad idea to promote the W as the sister league to the already established NBA, which would also tap into shared fan bases, arenas, and marketing and TV deals. At the same time, the W would be a summer league. Because the NBA's season doesn't start until the fall, the W wouldn't have to compete with the NBA for viewership. But by comparison, the ABL starts their first season in October of '96, which puts them squarely in competition with the NBA schedule. These dynamics create great challenges for the ABL in the long run, especially with the WNBA set to debut in 1997. With its own summer schedule, great marketing, and star athletes, how will the W's first season pan out? As we saw in our opening scene, the WNBA kicks off its first game in June of 1997 before a crowd of 14,000 and a TV audience of about 5 million. The New York Liberty wins the game 67-57 and go on to mark themselves as an early standout that draws large New York crowds with an average of 13,000 people in attendance. Now that's a pretty strong start. By comparison, the ABL is only averaging around 4,000 per game in the audience. The Liberty win their first 7 games and make it to the WNBA Finals, where they eventually lose to the Houston Comets. From there, it's the Comets who become the league's first dynasty, winning the first 4 WNBA titles. Let's run that back. They won 4 championships back-to-back to open the league. The Comets' success stems from 3 absolute powerhouse players: Cheryl Swoops, who we mentioned before, Tina Thompson, and Cynthia Cooper. Swoops, the Olympic star, is already a well-known name by the time she enters the league, having debuted her own line of custom Nike shoes, the Air Swoops, in 1995. But, as sports writer Michael Vopel argues, quote, early on, no player was more important to the WNBA than Cynthia Cooper, another great player for the Comets.
In a gutsy and emotional performance, Houston Comets star Cynthia Cooper scores 42 points against Utah as her best friend.
A 2-time Olympian and MVP for the W's first 2 seasons, Cynthia Cooper is a force to be reckoned with on the court. She's an incredible scorer. During her career year in 1998, she averages 22.7 points per game and finally gets what so many athletes dream of: her own signature shoe with Nike.
Cynthia Cooper, guard, Houston Comets.
Yeah, hi, what's
Why'd you
your
pull up 4-3 on the break last night?
Well, I was open.
Tina was open on the block.
She calls them the Nike Air Max Shake 'em Up and promotes the brand in a Nike commercial that features a cast of adorable little rascals alongside several other WNBA players. Now, this series of ads are a great example of the league's early marketing opportunities. It's a pretty big deal for a popular brand like Nike to promote the W, and it's smart to leverage the 3 famous Houston players who are already so well known. And as Hoops fans know, nothing quite sells a player like selling their signature shoe. The Comets help boost the league's popularity and visibility, and their continued success makes them central to the W's early success. After the Comets win their 3rd consecutive championship in 1999, they're even honored at the White House. They become the first pro women's team to ever receive that invitation.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
I just MailChimped my marketing.
You MailChimped your what?
I MailChimped my marketing with AI to create an effective marketing campaign in minutes.
No, MailChimp and Way.
Yes, MailChimp and Way. Now I can hyper-personalize my campaigns across email and SMS.
You can do all that with MailChimp?
What did I just MailChimp and say?
MailChimp your marketing with the #1 AI-powered email marketing and automation platform, Intuit MailChimp. #1 based on publicly available data on competitors' customers. Plans vary. SMS available as add-ons. Visit MailChimp.com.
Riding this wave of success, the WNBA expands in 1998 and adds 2 new teams to the league. They add another 2 in 99 and 4 more in 2000, bringing the total number of teams up to 16. Now, expansion is a risky business for a new league, but these new teams end up being some of the more successful crowd polls, like the Indiana Fever, which averages over 11,000 people per game in 2000, their first year in the WNBA. New teams mean the NBA, who, again, owns the W at this time, sees growth and good turnout. Games are even more successful than anticipated, with arenas full of longtime fans of women's college ball and recent fans excited to see this new brand of women's sports unfold. But in 2002, some financial setbacks caused a drastic shift in the league's ownership model. The NBA decides to sell its women's teams. Now, some become owned by their NBA counterparts, while others are owned by independent owners. As a result of this decision, some teams like Utah and Orlando relocate. But for the teams that struggle to find new owners, they eventually end up folding, including, most shockingly and tragically, the Houston Comets in 2008. The change in ownership also reveals some financial weak spots, like the fact that some franchises are losing between $1 and $2 million in a single season. Meanwhile, the NBA has been investing more than $10 million a year into the W. Losing money continues to be an issue for the new league. Now, here's where I'll point out, as I do to everyone that I talk to about women's sports, that literally every new league loses money in its first several years, including and especially men's leagues. If we look at how other sports leagues manage to turn profits in the billions, much of this boils down to broadcasting rights. The W has had broadcasting deals since its inception, with NBC being the first national network broadcaster for the inaugural 1997 season. Now, the deal is relatively small, only one game per week, with the league and the network sharing the profits. ESPN also joins early on, along with Lifetime, a non-sports channel catering to women. All of this means that the league has had a pretty decent start in broadcasting. But after the NBA sells its ownership in 2002, and with its previous deals expiring, the WNBA must now pursue broadcasting deals independently. In 2003, the league signs a 6-year deal with ABC and ESPN to air regular season and playoff games, including a half-hour pregame show. In 2007, the league signs a significant contract extension. For the first time, the networks are paying rights fees to the WNBA. Now, that's significant because that provides guaranteed revenues and a much-needed financial boost. While specific numbers are unclear, it's a positive step for a league that's, again, only been around a decade. Broadcast deals are integral to growing the game. They expose more people to the league and should provide key opportunities to highlight and market players. However, some bad programming decisions really hamper the networks and the league's opportunities for success.
Down to 7, Jones on the switch with Williams. Bounce inside, and Collier gets free.
During this period, W games are often hard to find. They're aired on secondary or tertiary channels that aren't easily discoverable. And they're often aired in competition with other major sporting events. They're not given time on SportsCenter, very famously, and there are very few ad campaigns around them. They're simply not giving priority, and that reflects in viewership numbers. In 2012, the WNBA saw its lowest average viewership for games, 180,000. But this would start to turn around as broadcasters eventually put forth proper marketing efforts for their games. Marketing the games and players has been integral to the W's success, as well as efforts to grow their audience. But also important have been efforts to further engage loyal fans who've been around since the league's inception. Gay W fans have long advocated for recognition, as seen in 1998, when the Lesbian Avengers purchased 60 tickets to a Washington Mystics game proudly displaying banners and wearing t-shirts. As a New York Times article notes, lesbian fans have been among the league's most faithful fans since its founding, with 21% attending a WNBA game and 25% watching one on TV. It wouldn't be until 2014 that the league shifts from ignoring its LGBTQ plus fan base to embracing them in marketing.
The WNBA has long embraced the LGBT community, both on the court and in the stands. But starting this week, it will become the first professional sports league to have a marketing campaign specifically targeting those fans.
This aligns with many players like Sue Wicks and Cheryl Swoops, who are openly and proudly gay in the early 2000s. Over time, more players do share their sexuality, but the league doesn't always encourage them to publicly come out, fearing that it disrupts their image of feminine straight women appealing to male fans. In a recent podcast, Sue Bird revealed how marketing strategies emphasized a girl next door vibe, as you could see in early promotional photos. Since the league's inception, more men have watched the W than women, reflecting overall demographic patterns in sports, but also reflecting that to a lot of stakeholders, male fans have always just been considered more valuable. The league carefully markets to its largest audience. In 2014, the league announces a Pride campaign to engage its LGBTQ plus fan base, something that was long overdue. Some have criticized the campaign as performative and profit-driven. The new Pride campaign features Pride shirts, representation at parades, and Pride Night games. Laurel Richie, who was WNBA president at the time, states that the campaign stems from market research revealing that lesbian women comprise about 29% of WNBA season ticket holders. Now, she frames the campaign as a way to appreciate a core and loyal fan base.
And for us, it's really a celebration of diversity and inclusion and a recognition of an audience that has been with us very passionately.
A lot would argue with that characterization, but I think what we can say is that gay fans have not gone anywhere, and the WNBA is finally doing them right. While it's hard to quantify the impact of Pride marketing itself, it's clear that a much more concerted overall marketing effort and much smarter broadcasting decisions helped viewership and ratings significantly increase during the 2014 season, with the finals between the Phoenix Mercury and Chicago Sky drawing the most viewers in a decade.
All smiles. They're about to take a 2-0 lead in the WNBA Finals.
Another reason that this time is successful is because of exceptional talent and huge stars. Now, Maya Moore should have been a household name, but anybody who has followed basketball knows who she is. Brittany Griner is selected as the first overall pick in 2013 and becomes a rising star for the Phoenix Mercury, even prompting Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks, to briefly suggest that he might draft her. I think that's as much a reflection of Griner's exceptional talent as it is of Cuban's big mouth. Now, this time also sees star players like Elena Delle Donne and Diana Taurasi, who will go on to probably be the greatest of all time. All of this is to say, there have always been stars in the WNBA, and the marketing around them has been lacking, but the talent has always been there. So right now, we're going to come up on a more recent turning point for the W, which comes with new commissioner Kathy Engelbert, who takes over in 2019.
I came in after a long career, 33 years at Deloitte, and I come into the league, and the first stat someone gave me is less than 1% of all corporate sponsorship dollars go towards women's sports, and less than 5% of all media coverage of sports covers women's sports. So, of course, as a good former accountant.
Now, Engelbert comes from Deloitte. She has a consulting and business background, and she looks at growing the league through very business-like terms. So she's been looking for new ways to find investment in the league, which, when she takes over, is still losing money. From Engelbert's perspective, the league needs to prioritize fan growth, viewership, and attendance before hard profits. But attracting new fans is difficult without enough money to put into the marketing. It takes money to make money very much applies here. You have to invest in women's sports to grow women's sports. So in 2022, the league announces a $75 million capital raise round, selling equity in the league to investors like the Arison brothers, who own the Miami Heat, and even former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice. With this funding, Engelbert works on the WNBA's brand as an independent league that is separating from this long-held notion that the league is merely the quote-unquote little sister of the NBA. Now, that branding and definitely the financial support of the NBA has absolutely led to a lot of early success. But at this point, many feel that it's held the league back as far as establishing itself as a major player in American sports, at least in people's minds. Now, Engelbert wants businesses to see the W as its own entity and as its own investment opportunity.
When you're only 12 teams in a league of our size and scale, and a country of our size and scale, a world of, with global basketball being so popular, getting to 16 teams, so we've already announced Team 13.
So how has this investment actually been used to affect the league's growth? Under Engelbert, WNBA viewership and ratings have steadily been on the rise since 2021. The 2023 WNBA draft was the most watched draft since 2004. Last year, viewership averaged 500,000 and recorded its most watched season in 21 years. Combined viewership was up 21% year over year. This year, the numbers are even more staggering. As we said before, WNBA games averaged more than 1 million viewers in 2024. The WNBA Finals ended with its highest viewership in 25 years. Game 5 drew a peak of 3.3 million people. And that's no small feat, considering it aired at the same time as Sunday Night Football and a decisive Game 6 between the Mets and the Dodgers. This season also saw the W's highest attendance records in 22 years, averaging just under 10,000 fans a game. Now, yes, a lot of this can be attributed to the Caitlin Clark effect. Many teams had to move to bigger arenas when the Fever were in town. But again, I can also tell you that I went to several Liberty games where Barclays Center was completely sold out without having Clark in town. All of this has culminated in millions more in investment in the league. The NBA and WNBA, which went back to negotiating their TV rights together a decade ago, just signed a monumental new broadcast deal with multiple partners. The WNBA's part of that deal, 11 years and $2.2 billion. That's $200 million a year, and that's more than 3 times the previous value of the W's rights deal. Now, all of this should help increase overall compensation for athletes at a time when fair play for women athletes is front and center of this conversation. You see, from a salary perspective, WNBA players are still relatively underpaid, not compared to the men's, that's often a straw man that's brought up, but compared to league revenue and certainly in conjunction with the league's recent growth. Under the current collective bargaining agreement, the maximum a veteran can make is around $240,000, while the rookie minimum is around $64,000. And this is why you may have heard that many WNBA players choose to play overseas during their off seasons. W players can make more than $1 million abroad. The league has implemented a marketing strategy to try to provide supplemental income to some players who can make up to $250,000 by participating in branding campaigns. But while these campaigns increase visibility, they're nowhere near a solution. WNBA athletes in this program can't play overseas during their offseason if they're in these campaigns, and it doesn't solve the salary problem. And this is why, last week, the WNBPA, the players' union, opted out of their CBA in hopes of negotiating better terms, including higher pay and retirement benefits before next season.
Yes, I want to opt out. The WNBA, if you want us to be here, you have to pay us more. It's business.
Everyone, buckle up. It's about to be a fun day.
This is our opportunity to get it right.
Player salaries are set under the CBA and are a function of revenues and deals signed at that time. So this new broadcast deal means an influx of cash. It means both financial stability for the league and a whole lot more money to pay the players, who frankly are the product on which this business is built. It's clear that what we're seeing in WNBA interest is reflective of interest in women's sports in general. But this is also the result of increased investment, smarter business and broadcast practices, and more effective marketing, all coming to a head at exactly the right time. I can finally find a WNBA game on ESPN, not ESPN2, not ESPN News. They're on prime time, and I'm seeing ads for them while I'm also watching football and baseball. That's really progress. The sustained growth we've seen over the past several years should tell you that this is not a fluke, or, as the W likes to say, this is a movement, not a moment. The question now remains, how will the league take this growth and continue to ride it? How will the upcoming labor negotiations affect this momentum, with the possibility of a player strike in play? And after record viewership, just how big can the W get? These are exciting questions at an unquestionably exciting time for women's basketball and those of us who love this sport. The WNBA shows you, when you finally put women's sports on TV and you invest in women, you won't be disappointed by the returns. Everybody watches women's sports. Let's go, Liberty. Thanks so much for listening to Sportly. Sportly is an Immigrantly media production. This episode was produced by Sadia Khan and Shay Yu, written by Michaela Struther, Shay Yu, and me, Kavitha Davidson. Our sound designer and editor is Paroma Chakravarti. Our theme music was created by Simon Hutchinson. Other music by Epidemic Sound. Tune back in next week and every week after for more Sportly.